Okay, welcome to the Javier Mendez podcast with Len as the host. You know me as the guy that's always there with Javier, but I've got a special guest today because we were doing the history of AK and the history of the UFC, and they're kind of tied together. And Paul Varelans was one of the first fighters, one of the first guys to go in there before MMA was any near where it was today. It was just a straight out, no rules brawl, basically, right?
Yeah, I consider myself like if you were going to do it presidentially, I'd be in the Abe Lincoln category probably. I'm not quite George Washington style, but definitely Abe Lincoln as far as timelines of the development of it. I was the first. Some people, the Shamrocks try to argue this, but I don't think Lodi is the Bay Area. I was
No, it's not. No, but okay.
I was the first Bay Area UFC fighter. And I was luckily so lucky to have Javier be so generous with his gym for me because, like I said earlier, I didn't know what I was doing. I literally saw the first UFC 3 or 4, and I was at a barbecue with a good friend of mine, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my god. If my dad could never knock me out when I was a kid, these guys will never knock me out. My dad tried. He tried his best, and he never could. But honestly, it was my first thought. I was like, if my gigantic, huge jerk of a dad couldn't put me out, these guys won't. And so I right then and there, I was like, I want to do this. Like I felt like, okay, I could do this. And now I just need to get in shape and brush up on my wrestling and taekwondo skills.
What a time. I was going to ask you about the psychology. Like, here you are. I was thinking about going into it. I was in the Navy. I got a call. We were coming back from Desert Storm. They're like, hey, you want to do WWE? I go, yeah. And then they said, oh, they don't know how the work works and we might hurt one of them. Or I go, okay, whatever. And then the UFC comes out, and I had done judo, and I watched hoist. I go, oh, I can do arm bars. They don't know what arm bars are. But I'd get out on disability, and I had this bad knee. So I'm like, but you guys were fighting with half broken legs and arms. I didn't know this. I thought everybody was in great shape, but people were showing up to the ring battered from their training, maybe firing on 30, 40, 50, 60.
It was a crazy time. Honestly, it was a crazy time. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. In the beginning, my lack of being in a proper school and having proper representation, like if I would have had Javier, which I didn't, it worked for me because when I decided to do the UFC, I saw it on TV. I made a $5 drunk bet with a friend of mine at a barbecue. The guy played football with the San Jose State. And I said, I want to do it. And so I go into this little kid dojo, like literally it was run by a kid. It was all these, it's like what a martial arts school is in real life usually. A bunch of pumped up egos and totally out of control ideas of who they are. And I mentioned it. I said, hey, I saw that UFC thing the other day. I think I'd like to do that. And I meant in a year. I meant like a year of training. Like I was a little more realistic than those guys. But they went out that weekend. Like I told them on a Friday, they started making calls. And by the time I came back from Monday class, he said, we got you in. You're in UFC 6. I'm like, that's like in 6 months. 6 months from now. And they're like, oh no, 4. It was 4 months. I'm sorry, it's 4 months from now.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, I can't. I'm not in shape. I was not completely unrealistic. Just I didn't know what I was doing, but I wasn't stupid. But then I was like, you know what? If I don't go for it, I'll never have this opportunity again.
Wow.
So I took on the challenge. I just said, 4 months, yeah, be damned. Let's do this. And I started training hard as I could for the time, but I had no idea as my journey grew and as my knowledge level or my understanding of what I needed to do grew, I was just beginning. I was just on my way. And for that first UFC, those little kids came with me. And, my chin, my solid chin, it lived up to what I thought it would do. I had a lot of power. My power worked for me. But, I got caught in a bad position with Tank. But here's what's funny. when I really was kind of starting to realize that the trap fighting school, I was with this trap fighting school is what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
When Tank knocked out the Hawaiian Samoan guy,
Mm-hmm.
all the guys, we had a monitor so we could see what was going on.
Yeah.
What was happening. All these little kids, they were 18 to 25-year-olds,
Mm-hmm.
started running around. Oh my God, Tank killed him! Tank killed him! Because remember the Samoan guy had his arms out straight. He looked like a bug that just got sprayed. He was like, nah. And they're running around oh my God, he killed him! He killed him!
The guy I rewatched that the other night. He's laying on his back with his hands still up and his legs up in the air, like he wasn't flat knocked out. He was like trapped in frozen in time. Right.
That's what happens when your body and your mind get disjointed. When you get hit so hard, you get that it's like a shock in your system, and you like literally do that. That's what happened with the Russian guy when he's fighting Igor
Vojtechin?
No, not Igor. Our UFC Russian.
I know you're talking about. He did more grappling.
Oleg Taktarov.
Oleg Taktarov.
Oleg got kicked in the face by the Gracie guy, and he went down and he was like stiff, and his eyes were on him. Same thing, same sort of thing. You get hit in these bundles of nerves just too hard, and it's like somebody flips a switch, like a breaker,
Yeah.
So but back to the thing. These guys are running around, and you don't need to hear the guy you're about to fight just kill the guy. I'm like, if you guys don't shut the hell up, I'm kicking you all out of here right now. Okay, they're all freaked out. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, I excited Tank up next, and honestly, Big John stopped our fight, but at the time the rules were knockout or submission, and he jumped in worrying about me, but he didn't understand that I have an iron chin. You can't. I'm like an insect where you cut my head off, I'm still going.
Right.
Take your body out. You got to take. Well, I can't stand like Marco Ruas did on me. But
let me stop you on something real quick, because I was just at the AKA the other day, and Ruas came at you with those lower leg kicks, and I didn't see him for decades, and now they are one of the most prominent things. Justin Gaethje just used it to take out Tony Ferguson. A lot of the Brazilian guys, they grew up playing soccer, as did Ruas, and that's like a lower soccer kick. That's like something you'd use to take a guy out on the field.
Muay Thai. It's that Muay Thai. You roll it over, but it's very different. I think wasn't it Spider that broke his leg? He threw that.
He got checked. He threw it forward.
But here's the thing: is if you don't roll it over, it's supposed to come like a mini roundhouse.
Okay.
If you don't roll it over and turn your ankle down, you're gonna break your leg like that.
That makes sense.
He broke his own leg, because the leg check is everybody does leg check.
Right.
The break happens when you throw. See how like Spider's one of these natural athletes, and when you get natural like that, you start throwing lazy techniques.
Yeah.
And that's a lazy technique that will get you to break your leg.
Well,
but he broke his own leg with that. So, because he didn't roll it over. But yeah. The funny thing about Marco Ruas was that he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Nobody knew he was going to come out with Muay Thai, and so I hadn't, at that time I was still learning, right? And so I didn't even know the leg check or the block. And the funny thing is those kicks hurt so bad.
Yeah.
That about a couple minutes in, my leg pulled up into the leg check on its own.
Wow.
Like I had never learned that.
And the guy was staying on the outside, running around trying to chop you down like a tree. No punches.
And hit me in the thigh. And I had a contusion.
IT bend, right? IT bend in your back, your calf. It's like doing squats. If you do heavy squats and your legs, you can't walk after a while because all the blood flows there. So when people,
I had a contusion the size of a grapefruit. It was huge afterward. Like it was. I mean, it hurt. And here's the funny thing is, it's just such a dualistic craziness with me. Like I was sick during that UFC. That was the first Ultimate. And that was UFC 7. And I got the flu, and I was sick as a dog. And so everybody expected me to get railroaded over. Like they were making fun of me. They had one of my favorite stories is I was so sick. I was eating grapefruit and garlic, and I was green and sweating. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so the UFC people who didn't really like me anyway, but they were stuck with me because the fans liked me. They were like, "Hey, Varelans, we got this figured out." There's no bar, and I was walking up with my grapefruit, my garlic, and they're like, "Hey, Varelans, yeah, we got it figured out. Yeah, you're gonna take fifth place, and that means haha, fuck you, you're gonna lose, right?" And I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Hey, just wait 1 second here, guys. Wait 1 second." It was Bob Marowitz, it was Art Davies, it was all the head guys, and Marowitz is the asshole. Davies was a great guy, but he's gonna follow his leader. So I go up to my room and I got this mini magic 8 ball. You know what those are? You shake it,
Yeah,
get a
when
little
it tells you
answer,
your
right?
future or whatever, like a
Yeah,
horoscope.
yeah. And I had a keychain size one with me
Okay.
that I always carried because they're fun. They're a great way to start a conversation with a girl. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go up, I grab this thing, I bring it back down, and I'm all, "Hey guys, I got the answer right here. This never lets me down. Like this has never lied to me. I've never been wrong." And they're like, "Oh really? What's it say?" And so I shook it, I looked and said, "I wouldn't bet against me." And they're like, "Yeah, Varlins, whatever, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And you know what happens? I end up in the finals of UFC 7. And not only that, at 7 minutes into that fight, because
Mm-hmm.
those guys were, Marowitz was too cheap to buy enough cable time, half the cable companies in the nation pulled the plug.
Oh
They
wow.
had to refund all those people.
Oh, I
And
remember that would happen. They didn't know how to
yeah,
block time, the
they lost,
technology and stuff. Right.
they lost half they lost their asses. And the funny thing is I said to them, "Don't bet against me." And so when it was all over, Marowitz hated me even more. He wanted to blame me like it was my fault. He was too cheap. One of the guys came up to me and said, "Hey, Paul, would you mind? Can I have that 8 ball?" Like he was, in his way, he was telling me, "You got us. You got us. You got us." But yeah, I was sick as a dog. And those kicks initially were the only things keeping me recharged. Like he kicked me, like, "Oh,
Wake you
oh
up.
God, that hurt. That hurt."
Adrenaline.
Okay. Yeah, but after a while, the leg just wouldn't stand anymore. It just wouldn't stand it. And but the funny thing is kinesiology. They say the study of the body, how the body works most efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
The leg check, in my estimation, from my experience, is the most natural block because my body just went right to it.
Just
I
kept
didn't even
lifting
think
up
about
like, oh
it.
yeah.
It went whoop. Okay, we're not taking that hurt too much. We're not doing that again. Whoop. And I was like, and funny, Donna Dragon's like, "If he knew the block, why wasn't he doing it earlier?" Like they said it in the video feed. And the
It
truth is,
evolved out of pain. The
my
technique was
leg,
out of pain.
just got a Muay Thai black belt without me being there. Like so.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you the foundation of martial arts. I would guess street fights, dealing with bullies, whatever, growing up, and then a little bit of martial arts. Or how did your fighting evolve? Because the UFC now is so well rounded. You're a wrestler with this background, that, but you have to have a mesh, some boxing. Now we know the recipe, but back then it was like most people are standing up. The Gracies are going to get you on the ground, and then you're done. And or someone like Tank is going to get you to the ground, and he's a wrestle boxer. You know what I mean? Back then there wasn't too many
Right,
people
catch
that
you
were
with a big
dual.
punch. Catch you with a big
Right.
punch. Right. And I mean, and you know, during those years, it was like people were just learning as they went. If you had a really good, solid background in some things, you could do really well. Or if you came to something that nobody's seen before, something really new, like that would throw people off, and you could do really well.
Mm-hmm.
But people would make adjustments to it, and if you didn't have a really well-rounded skill set, if you weren't a superior athlete, the novelty stuff would only carry you so far.
Right.
But in the beginning, the novelty would work because it was new, and that's kind of how this thing kind of like, it's just how it developed, and like it's funny because I was at the American that trap fighting school.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "Oh, yeah, just stick with us. You're gonna be fine." I'm like, no, man, I gotta go do some kickboxing. I gotta do some judo. I gotta do all these things. And they got really kind of like butthurt about it. And the guy really wanted to try to like use me to get a big, like that's not. I wouldn't have minded that, but I still had to go other places to do other things. And Basically, the minute I started going to the judo, it sounds like stayed a little bit, and then a couple other places, they kind of locked their doors on me. They kind of locked me out, and I was like,
That was old methodology, though, right? Remember, because we're close in age. When I was a kid, the first thing you're dealing with UFC, we're finally going to see whose sensei actually knows how to fight. You know,
right,
you ever
right.
see Napoleon Dynamite? You ever see that movie?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
guy is
yeah,
walking, yeah, and I go home to her, and he's got the
right.
Evil Knievel pants on and all that Rex Kwon Do. But
Yeah,
there was a
yeah,
lot of people like that, and a guy
yeah,
could like get up a tiger, the
yeah,
8 strikes of the tiger pose, and be on the cover of
right.
Black Belt magazine. Never been in a tournament, never done anything but forms and katas, and we don't know if
Exactly.
it works. And he's like, I can't hit you with it because you might die. It was one of these things forever.
Yeah,
But you
right,
guys
exactly.
finally
Well,
opened the door on that, and that was
yeah.
probably still part of your psyche. Like, am I going to see the 7 figures of the dragon today?
You know, I kind of rejected that early on because
Yeah,
I knew that like because when I was at this little school and he was trying to do these little things on me, I was so big and strong that it just wouldn't work.
right,
And like they would try pressure points on me, and my dad numbed those on me. Like I don't have pressure point response.
right.
Even I've had police officers try to use that on me, and it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
so how come your mind's not bending? How come this and this? So I was like, okay, so yeah, obviously this stuff isn't some secret. There's no secret sauce. You gotta you gotta use what's efficient, and you gotta use what works. You know, efficiency and what works, and even being 6'8", you know,
Yeah.
between 300 and 400 pounds, I had to modify even the stuff that was really legit. Like the arm bars, I had to get them differently. I had to get in positions differently. I had to work positions differently. I had to come from different angles. Like I really had to modify. My jujitsu is called huge jitsu. Okay, when you got arms these long, as long and thick, you got to work different techniques and different. You got to take techniques and modify. And honestly, the best of the best, that's what they're doing. Is
Yeah.
they're learning what works for them the best and what's efficient for them the best, and then recognizing what's holes in their natural abilities. And the sooner you can be honest enough with yourself to say, hey, this is where I'm weak, and I'm either gonna work something that keeps me away from that or develop that, like strengthen that weakness. That's when you become elite. That's when you become elite. When you can really tap into who you are, bring out your strengths, shore up your weaknesses, then you become a professional. Okay.
Interesting enough, if you look at your timeline, there wasn't, okay, now there's kids that were 3 years old then that are fighting now that are amazing
No,
since they were three.
no.
You were going, I'm the 3 month turnaround guy. Hey,
Yeah,
I'm fighter in a box, put some water in it, let's see what it tastes like. And that was it for you, right?
I would absolutely. And I mean, everybody, I was a hired gun. I mean, literally, like I, I had the talk with Javier about I wanted him to be my sensei. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he was just the brutally honest, wonderful human being he is. And he's all, hey, Brian's my guy. I can't have two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I got to be honest with you, Paul. You're just so unorthodox, and you're coming from this thing from such a different angle that you know. I wish I could work with you, but you're not. You, you shouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be doing this, but you can because on fight, you go. And he gave me a great compliment. He goes, Paul, on fight day, you're undefinable. You've got
Mm-hmm.
abilities that come out of nowhere. Your strengths and your conditioning comes just up out of nowhere, and you're a fighter. You're a fighter at heart, which you are. But I don't know what to do with that
Well,
because
it's
I'm supposed to take you and mold you and give you the foundations and
mm-hmm.
build you, and that's what you do. He was right. That's what you're supposed to do. And I wish I had done that. I wish I had started earlier and done all these things. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he was. What I love about Javier is his honesty, his professionalism, and I mean, he has what he has because of it. So
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't make an exception for me just because you know what I mean because it wouldn't have felt right then. But on the other hand, he also offered me his gym, the people that he had to offer, like
Sparring guys, yeah.
boxing coaches and his things. He said, "Hey, if you want to work with him, it's okay. Paul's a part of AKA in his way." And so I mean, he without what he offered me, I could not have the success that I enjoyed. So you know,
That's really
I
nice.
kind of yeah, I kind of feel like the adopted kid. You know, I mean, I'm not really part of the family, but I was adopted into the family. So you know, his generosity was beyond, and it was great having him at events with me early. You know, like so it was great.
Right.
You know,
Interesting enough, he was just becoming a coach as you were just becoming a fighter. If we go to the timeline, he didn't
yeah,
have, he hadn't had Frank Shamrock in the cage yet to take the belt. I
no,
mean, he was working with Brian Johnson, right?
yep,
And
Brian. And he
and
was next to Scott. His gym was right next to Scott Coker's, and it was this long. It was just this long, hollowed out strip mall thing, and it was dark and it was dank, and there was one big banana bag, there was a speed bag, and there was tatami mats, and it smelled like old sweaty mold. And I love it. It's part of my. I when I think of my fondest times, is me training with Brian and Brewster Thompson and that dark little dank gym. But before they even got that new nice one off Union, I
mm-hmm.
love that little because we worked hard and we were just we were just it was awesome. I love that little AKA.
I have a question. So Javier was a world champion. He was a rounded off fighting athlete and like a knockout specialist, a powerful guy in his division, what he did in kickboxing. Did you guys, you as a UFC guy, were you guys able to see what he was compared to, let's say, a karate or taekwondo instructor that did formal training, not full contact like him? Was that, or did that come
Well, yeah,
later?
I mean, I think kickboxing, yeah, definitely. I mean, that trap fighting school I went to, like I said, it was a necessary evil. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't care if I lived or died. They just wanted to go to the UFC with me, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
they really had nothing to offer. They thought they had the world to offer, and they really weren't. They weren't.
Mm-hmm.
They had no idea, okay? And then when I got to Javier's working with Brian and him and Javier worked me a little bit with my hands and stuff, yeah, it was night and day. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
weren't trying to learn. We were. This is how you throw a punch. This is how you roll over a punch. Like
Mm-hmm.
remember I told you roll over that kick. Well, you do the
Yeah.
same thing with a punch for power. You roll, like you roll it over, you snap it, you pull it back. I mean, there's kinetic things, there's professional things about fighting that generate power.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I learned to get away from the weights, start working the quickness, start working the dropping the weight, work with quickness because quickness is such a more efficient generator of power
Mm-hmm.
than size. And I mean size is there, but if you can have some size and but that quick snap, you're deadly. You're that quick snap. That's where the power is, and that's what I learned from like Javier. That's what I learned. His my AK experience taught me what was unnecessary, what was efficient, and yeah, no, it was Brian was the closest thing I had to a consistent Brian and Brewster Thompson were my
Mm-hmm.
only really consistent workout partners. I mean, one of the things that limited my growth was at 6'8", like 350 to 400 pounds. I couldn't go full out with anybody. If I went full out with anybody, somebody got hurt, and then I didn't have a workout partner. So I had to go at like 50 to 75%
Mm-hmm.
tops,
Yeah.
and you train, you fight like
Controlled sparring, not full
yeah,
contact.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
fight like you train. So if you
Right.
see a lot of my fights, I come in kind of slow. I don't come out
Mm-hmm.
really fast and hard right because I'm fighting like I'm training. Like I don't start fighting hard until I get pissed, until I get
Right.
hit, and I'm like, oh, we're in a fight, all right? Like which is ridiculous. But yeah, at some points I just had literally my mattress to work out with doing throws and doing. I mean, I really it was like Brian would sometimes he hurt himself trying to like muscle me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of
Mm-hmm.
using technique. And it's funny because Javier would be like, Brian would hurt his shoulder and Javier would walk over and he goes, I told you, don't try to muscle him. Use a technique. You're gonna hurt yourself on him. And Javier was, Javier, you have to be honest with your fighters. And that's what he is. He's brutally honest,
Mm-hmm.
he
True.
just tells it like it is. And you got to hear it like it is. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to do anything. You can't grow in a bunch of shaded bullshit, you know?
Well, I mean, I wish you'd, had the chance, but then we wouldn't have what we have if it wasn't for pioneers like you making the way in the gold rush of fighting, showing people like, okay, Tang Sudo versus volleyball coach versus XGI.
Right,
I mean,
right,
it
right,
was a
right.
lot of fun. It was entertaining. But what used to crack me up was like, he's had 280 undefeated street fights. We're like,
Yeah, yeah.
every time he
You know,
goes home, there's a guy in the parking lot.
no, honestly, there was a level of bullshit that you had to buy into with promotions,
Right.
and I forget which. I think it was UFC 7. In the first one of the first ones, they said undefeated in bare knuckle boxing, and I'm like, okay, that's what they said for me, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I guess I've never done any, so I guess I'm undefeated, right? So,
Yeah, technically
I
speaking, yeah.
technically speaking, so yeah,
He's never
I've
lost
never,
in karate, taekwondo, or
right, right. So you know what I mean? Like the truth of the matter was, I just was confident enough and strong enough and had just enough skills to, and the truth be told, that's what they would do is they wanted people who looked good but would lose for
Mhm.
the guys that they were behind. Guys I wouldn't say the Gracies. I think the Gracies really did look for the best. But once SCG promotions took over,
Mhm.
they started trying to create something they could control. Like they thought they'd put like this
Control
is a
the
guy
narrative
who's
like reality TV. It looks real, but it's sort
right,
of staged,
right,
right? Okay,
right.
I
So
get it.
so they didn't take a lot of hard looking into your background because
Mhm.
you just look good, and that's all they wanted. They wanted you to lose looking good. And one of the reasons they hated me is because I wouldn't go away. I wouldn't lose like they wanted me to lose. So
They were
they
hoping
respect.
for a David and Goliath outcome, and again, right?
Exactly, and
Right.
that's the David and Goliath UFC with I killed their superstar in the first round, but then I slipped and sprained my ankle, and I
Mhm.
was still gonna fight. That was the one where I fought Joe Moreira. Joe Moreira was going to be the next Gracie. They were grooming him to be the next big guy, and I shut that down. Once he took a shot from me, he had no interest. He started running. The crowd was booing him, and I was like, "Come on, let's fight." It was crazy, but then I was walking back. This is in Puerto Rico. I was walking backstage after beating Joe, and they were throwing ice and cans. And Puerto Rico was crazy. And I slipped on an ice cube literally, and my ankle swelled up like to the size of my calf. But
Oh,
I was gonna hop out and fight off my back. I wasn't gonna quit. Like I was just gonna keep going. But they wouldn't let me. They did. So I beat Joe, and then that was my UFC. There's two UFCs I really felt I could have took, and that was the battle of the
Bayou.
yeah, the David and Goliath, and then the one with Don Fry, the one Don Fry is for Don Fry's first one. I
Yeah.
could have took Don at that point. Maybe not later in his career as he got better and better, but
Mhm.
the one the one where he won it, that was and I was in it. That was the one where I fought Chemo, and I gassed out like from
Mhm.
hitting him. I hit him and hit him. He was bleeding from his eyes. There's all kinds of rumors of what was going on, but it didn't make any sense. I was hitting him so hard, and he just was not like it was like he wasn't there. But by the end of the fight, he couldn't go on. They had to take him to the hospital. He was
Mhm.
he was bleeding out of his eyes. They said he was never quite the same after that.
Let me
So
ask you, if you were to redo it now that you've watched where you started and
right,
now you've watched the UFC till now, it's almost 30 years, right?
right.
From then till now. What would you do if you could go back in the time machine and say, okay, here I am, me. Where would you put yourself? What kind of training would you put yourself through different this time of what existed?
Well,
Based or
I
about?
would have started where I ended doing 2 hour sessions, two in the early afternoon, two in the late afternoon, two in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
I would do my stand up or no groundwork in the morning, stand up in the evening, and then cardio and light weights in the evening, in the late evening.
Your
I
cardio
would
was never really bad. I was going to say that. I noticed. I go, for such a big guy, I never saw you like. You seem to just
you
like.
know what's you know what's
You kept
funny?
moving forward. I don't know why.
That was a cycle. That was something that I got to tell you. the guy that got killed by Tank, and the guy that the big Samoan guy,
Mm-hmm.
I saw him all week, and he was so angry and so burning up his energy, and he was like,
Oh, blowing at his
even before
adrenal
the
glands.
fight. And I looked at him and I was like, you know what? By the time his fight starts, there's going to be nothing left in him.
Mm-hmm.
He's burning his chi up. Like it
Right,
just for
right.
some reason that stood out in my mind. And you know what? He got hit and boom, he was done. And I knew that my conditioning wasn't nowhere near what I needed it to be. So I told myself, don't let your adrenaline run away with you. Keep your breath slow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would literally force myself to not breathe heavy. I would breathe as slowly and as clearly as I could,
Like a
and
runner.
that's what extended me out.
Mm.
Like it was just this kind of mental thing that I said I was worried about my wind. I didn't want to let my wind run away from me. I've seen in the past what happens with guys when they get hyped up and they're then they spend themselves.
No,
So it was
hyperventilate. Yeah.
my discipline and conditioning was more so conditioning of my breath, like just keeping my
Mm-hmm.
breath together as I was building my conditioning. I used discipline of breathing slowly, and I learned a lot from that. Like I'm working on offering seminars
Mm-hmm.
in dealing with stressful situations at work or wherever you're
Mm-hmm.
at. And one of the challenges I put to people when if they don't believe what I'm talking about is they say, I dare you to get angry with calm breath.
Mm-hmm.
I dare you to get angry while you're breathing clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. The breath is the thermostat to the mind.
Interesting.
And try it sometime. Try to get angry with calm breath. You won't be able
Yeah.
to do it.
I was,
So I yeah.
I was going to ask you about I was going to ask you about Russia. Like Kiev, you went fighting over there. How was that experience? I mean, this was like the walls were coming down. That was like, well, we were kids. We were watching. I'm married to a Russian woman, but it's like back then we were kids. Boris and Natasha were the cartoons. Watch out,
yeah.
It's like it was the propaganda, and it was a Cold War. And then you're going there, especially when the wall comes down in Berlin, and it is such like you're in
it was
like
crazy.
yeah.
I'm so glad I did it, but
Mm-hmm.
it was nerve wracking at times. Like that's probably one of my most culturally expansive. Like I grew more about my understanding of the world
Mm-hmm.
and how different places can be.
Right.
And like first off, never fly Air Ukraine. Never fly Air Ukraine. They have this kind of this big passenger jet that's got like 16 wheels underneath it, and and you get inside and things start rattling, and like the light fixture dropped in front of me, and I was like, waitress, vodka. Like I really wasn't trying to drink at the time, but I had to drink in Russia. I knew I was gonna have to drink, so I was conditioning myself for that. Yeah, there was people with chickens at the back of the plane. I swear to God. It was like flying on a train. It was like
So
flying on
you
a
flew
train.
to Ukraine, and I saw some of that footage way back in the day, and it looked like a dark arena, kind of dark, and it's like it looked, like a spy movie or something, or a gangster movie that you were involved in.
It was crazy. And there's guys offering me massages beforehand. I'm like, no, thank you, but that's not a big deal there, I guess. And I mean, yeah, it was super dark. And like my first opponent I fought, I separated his shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
and he wouldn't tap, and
Mm-hmm.
they weren't throwing the towel. And as I drug him over to his corner, I'm all, do I have to rip your guys off for you to throw the towel? I don't want to hurt him anymore. And so they finally threw the towel in, and his shoulder was down to the side when they raised his arm. And I was like, wow, this place is brutal. Like it was a brutal, really, truly a brutal place. They suffer with pride there. And I'll tell you a little story at the end of this about when I was leaving. And it was put on by the Russian mob. Almost all the foreign places I was at, it was mob related at the time. Okay, like they were for the money they were getting for these events.
Wow.
And there was a lot of machine guns. Okay, like I get off the plane and they scurry me past the visa thing, and there's guys with machine guns, and they put me into a van that's a bulletproof Mercedes-Benz van, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And they take me to my hotel room, and there's this little balcony, little 4-inch balcony, and I see breaths blowing from the outside of, I look out and there's these two guys teetering on my ledge with machine guns. And I was like, I called up the promoter. I'm like, listen, man, do I really need all these machine guns around me?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like Glashnikovs, like big
Mm-hmm.
machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, listen, you are like a political person here. If anything happened to you, it'd be a great. Nothing's gonna happen. It would be a great black eye to our country. So please, just be calm. I'm like, I guess, man. Okay,
Right,
fine.
right.
You know, like literally. And then I had my fight with the little Russian Popeye motherfucker. Like, he was incredible. He almost knocked me out. He's the first person to almost knock me out. That was Igor Vovanich.
Oh yeah, Igor Vochanchin.
Yeah. He hit so fucking hard. I never. Even my dad, he hit harder than my fucking dad did when I was a little kid. Like, he almost knocked me out. Like, I was getting back up when the ref stopped it, you know. But that was one of those fights where it was still really early in my career and I had a lot to learn. And that one, I had to learn to keep moving. If you're gonna be somebody hits like that, you got to stay out of the way. You can't just. I thought I could just take hits all day. That one taught me I couldn't take hits all day. But for that, and I mean, I could talk forever about it, but I think the highlight for the story going home is I was in the van with these guys, these machine guns, and I finally was like, hey, I want to thank you guys for all the security. I felt really safe, you know. Hey, thank you. And the guy starts laughing, this big Russian laugh. I'm like, I meant it. He goes, no. He goes, you're protecting us. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, oh, well, we're a small family. We're not a big family. We put this event on. We did not talk to the other families. They're not happy with us. When you leave, we're dead. They're going to kill us. And they all start laughing.
Oh, my goodness.
This was some real shit, though. Like, they weren't fucking kidding.
Wow.
But you know what? They accept their lot. They stoicism. If you want to understand the word stoicism, go to the Ukraine during that period of time. Probably still not the same way, but I was like, holy shit, these guys have resigned themselves to their death. Oh, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, we're dead. We're all fucking dead. But we'll take a lot of them with us. They're not gonna we're no pussies. We're not gonna. And I was like, whoa, it's just at that point in my life, and still now. I mean, how do you put your head around that? You know what I mean? Like
that's like, I was in a movie once, but it was real and it was my life.
No, and you know what, bro? We could go all day. I'm working on writing my memoirs. I had a run in Japan. I had a run in with the Yakuza.
Well, see, that was the other mob, the Pride people, or they had other organizations too, right? You were fighting there before Pride, which became Pride.
Yeah, no, I fought. Yeah, I never got to Pride, which were the big money ones. I never got to, which I don't want to talk about it. But like that was it. I think that was at I was fighting for because I fought in Japan several times, but I think that fight was the was Pancration fight.
Okay.
And we were in Roppongi, and there was a young Dutch fighter who we were hanging out, a bunch of us fighters, and this young Dutch fighter insulted this young Asian gentleman, and the young Asian was like, "Come with us," and I got it right away because I saw the tats sticking out of his start saying it. I'm like, "Oh shit, this guy's dead," and he's a kid, you know. And I was like, so I rolled up to the young guy and I said, "Listen." And I understanding the basics of respect and stuff. So I said to the kid, I said, "Listen, you know what? He's young. He's stupid. He's with me. I apologize. I give you 100% apology. But he's just young. Please forgive us." And he's all, "You want to come with us too?" And then this older dude stood up, comes over, started yelling at this kid who's in front of me. And the kid's all, "I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not." And the older guy said, "Come over, have a drink with me." So we're sitting there having a talk, and we're talking about how kids don't understand respect these days, and blah blah blah. And I'm just going, "Oh my god, I think I just almost died here. Like I just was just overstepping myself." But so we had our drink and talk, and it was all good. And then that's like one of those stories where who's gonna believe that? And I did end up writing it online somewhere, and the Dutch guy went online and said, "Yeah, I'm that guy. This happened." Paul Pulver saved my life that night, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I can go on and on. This
You get the good story. See, that was before it was all regulated. That's
yeah,
why that's what happened when Dana and them took over. They get all the regulations, the 5 minutes.
yeah,
They can time their pay-per-view because there's
right,
only this much delivery to
yeah,
walk out, this much
right,
commercial time, this much 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, done. They can predict when the fight will go under or over. There's never going to go over. There's no overtime.
right,
But the old
right.
days, you guys had unlimited rounds, and that's kind of hard to quantify on pay-per-view,
Uh,
right?
unlimited rounds, and I mean, honestly, when people say to me, "What's the difference between old school and new school?" and it's like it's hard to answer a question like that that's so obvious without sounding like a dick. But
Yeah.
I try to say, would you rather fight 3 times in one night to win, or
Mhm.
one time in one night to win?
Yeah.
And then it's like it slowly kind of pours over their head. Holy shit! Yeah, you're hurting that first match. You're hurt more in that second match, and you're praying in the third one that your opponent is as jacked up as you are, because it's going to be a long night. And that was part of the problem with their equations at the time was the alternate, letting an alternate come in fresh after
Mm-hmm.
guys
Mm-hmm.
lost 3 fights.
Yeah.
Jenham was just a silly situation. Steve Jenham, who won it after coming into the, I mean, it's just is ridiculous. But yeah, but it was new. So I mean, those things had to get worked out. So but yeah, but what was the difference? 3 fights in one night. I mean,
Yeah. Today, the athletic commission would not let that happen. The cut man would have you pulled halfway through your first fight. For some of those cuts, some people do. They come in like with a gash and said, "I'm ready to go." You would not let that guy back in the ring. The laws now would prevent that from happening, right?
I fought in Brazil 1 week before Vale Tudo, where I got my eye opened up because the promoter let the other guy wrap his hands up. That was with who that was. Oh well, I'll get back to that. But I ended up going to Amsterdam to fight Dick Bury, and I had these stitches over my eye, and I couldn't fight with the stitches in because that would get cut. So I got the super glue, pulled the stitches out, and poured the super glue in the holes. And I found out later that's what super glue was originally invented in Vietnam for closing sutures in the field in special forces. That's what super glue was actually originally used for. Hell, I didn't know it. I just knew it would work. So that's what I did. And I was like, and I had my these are the things that could never happen now, but had to happen then. And I have a large sense of pride of being a part of one I was a part of, and I have experiences these new guys will never have. They're so professional. The road's been laid out for them. They know what to do, not what not to do. They don't go drinking. They don't go whoring. Probably not as much as we did. That's for sure. But that's when you think back to Every Which Way. But I mean that what was my inspiration before the UFC? Every Which Way But Loose.
Oh yeah.
I was a huge
Clint Eastwood street fighting.
Yeah. I watched that. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. Rocky. Look, these are the things. These were the things that the young polar bear watched. The kids watched me, and I hope I inspired young kids. But I was inspired at the movies. I was. This thing is an ancient ritual that's a part of humanity since the dawn of time.
Gladiators.
Then have gladiators, men fighting for their territory, men fighting to beat their manhood. It's a part of who we are. And what's funny is I have I'll try to find it and send it to you. I have a crime or a violent crime like measurement, and violent, and it might be just a coincidence, but violent crime and murder rates have gone down with the rise of the UFC going up. When you see, I have this chart that lays out the years of the UFC and how popular it's gotten, and then crime rates going down. And
interesting statistic.
It is an interesting statistic, and I have the chart. I'll send it to you. And I have an eye for things like that. I'll see things. I'll be like, hey, wait, that matches. And I'll bring them together. I'm like, oh my god, it's true. I also have one with it's off topic, but with autism and cell phone usage. the rates of autism have skyrocketed
Hmm.
as wireless technology has skyrocketed. Like you can almost lay the numbers on top of each other,
That's
and
interesting.
nobody's doing any studies to show what these high frequencies might be doing to our soul.
Well, you moved from, you're in Alaska right now, am I right?
No, I'm actually in Atlanta. I moved
Atlanta?
from Alaska about a
Okay,
year
you
ago.
were up in Alaska for a while though, right?
I was, yeah.
How was that? I mean, you went there from California. Were you from there or
Well,
like
you know,
I am the
and
polar bear.
I'll share with you my latest victory.
Okay.
When I got out of the fighting, I went
Hmm.
into a really severe depression because
I'm sure.
I didn't leave fighting because I was too old or I got injured or I wasn't good enough. It got banned,
Hmm. Oh
and
yeah,
then
we
when
had people trying
then
to shame and human cockfighting and all
yeah
that. I remember. I was there.
then not after then when they finally brought it back and they brought the rules, they brought a weight class I couldn't make
Oh, the 280
265.
because you were, yeah.
No, 265. It was
Oh,
265.
265, my bad. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
because in
yeah.
the early
So
UFCs we had 400, 500 pound guys in there.
they literally locked me out of my own sport to help start. And I'll tell you what, I dealt
Never
with it
thought of
poorly.
that. Hmm?
Went into a severe depression,
Mm-hmm.
got a job at a strip club, got a drug issue, a severe
Mm-hmm.
drug issue that I just finally a couple years back kicked. I finally kicked methamphetamine.
Good for you.
I was, yeah. I'm three years plus clean now.
Right on.
Yeah, and I'm writing. That's part of what I'm writing about too. My book's mostly about the UFC is a background, but it's about drug addiction and addictive issues with the brain in general. But that's I'll work on. I'll let you know when that's ready.
The evolution.
Um,
We will promote your book when you get your book
right
done.
on,
Well,
right on, right
I
on.
wanted to pay homage to you because listen, man, I was there and I was a guy, and people are like, who's Len? He's interviewing Hob. Well, I used to have an MMA gym, you know, and that was like 13 years ago. Oh yeah, and you guys were still, your names were still popping up, more the Shamrocks and other people. But now today, the new generation, this is kind of evergreen material. This is like documentary. Like you want to see who was there in the beginning. That's this gentleman over here,
Yeah,
Paul Varelans, the polar bear. Before people had an AKA, they had AKA, but Hav was
yeah,
just working with one guy at a time. Now he works with 40, 50 fighters. And
yeah.
then more so like when Habib's in camp, it's all on Habib. But,
Right.
he will still work with the other guys. But like I said, Hav had to grow as a coach and understand what he was teaching as the sport grew. Everything grew and evolved. It never stayed one thing. It's always evolving, right?
And it's
As
still evolving.
right.
Still
And
evolving.
so I get the weight class lockout. I didn't even think about that. I go, you know what? Yeah, that's true. I just, it was so slick, my mind just kept
Yeah,
jumping to the next fight. I look back and I go,
yeah.
yeah, you're right.
I got I got pushed out of the nest, man. I
Oh
got
my
pushed, and
God.
it was, and I was, man. I loved what I did. I
Hmm.
loved it. It was crushing for me. It was crushing. Like I just was like, what the hell? And I was just getting. I was down to. I sucked my weight down to 290. I
Wow.
was at 290. I was doing. I
Hmm.
I had done everything I needed to do. I was really positioning myself to be
Hmm.
dominant, and that's when it got pulled. And I
Well,
got to tell you, man, you don't. There's no preparation for that kind of exit. Like we
right,
all know, okay, you're gonna get too old. Okay, you got injured.
right.
You're just not good enough, man. You're just not good enough. Those are things that we can. It's pretty. That's a normal evolution of a fighter's career.
The sign waiting at the end of the road, you're going to get one of these
Right,
three signs. What? Here's
right,
yours. Turn
yeah.
left at you're too old. Turn right
I
at
just get
you're,
this
yeah.
odd, like, oh, you're too big to do what you did before. What? What?
Right.
Yeah, I get the 1 in a million exit, and it messed with my head big time. I gotta say I loved what I did. I didn't know how much I loved it till it was gone. All the
People,
traveling, all
you,
the experience.
they got to look up your fights. You guys got to look up, Paul Varelans, the polar bear. You got to look this up because the thing is that you're such a big man. It's not a diet thing. Your bones probably weigh more than 265. You're a big guy. You're 6'8",
Yeah,
very,
no,
very big in stature. It's not like, okay, I'm down to a lean 290 probably is, you know what I mean?
I was.
Right.
It felt good. Like if you look up my fight with Dick Burig, actually I have a copy of it. I'll send it to you.
Right
My
on.
fight with Dick Burig, I was in the best shape. That was the fight that I went from Brazil, one hemisphere, to the next hemisphere within a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like they talk about fighters having, like these modern fighters that have maybe 4 fights a year. That's crazy, brother. I was having fights twice a month, 3 times a month.
And
That's how my
sometimes 3 guys in one night.
3 guys in one night. You know what I
Right,
mean? So
right.
like I'm like wow, like like we were Iron Men. We were freaking Iron Men, man. Like,
It was anything goes. I don't know what I'm getting into. A lot of gangsters running stuff, like you said, in different countries, and there was no
yeah,
regulation.
regulation.
It was
You had
being shaped.
promoters breaking rules you had to get past, people
Right.
making the rules different for their guy. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And just just well, fuck it, man. Fuck it. Just do this. It was I'm proud to have that. I'm proud to have that. And that I wouldn't, you say, what would you change? I would have changed maybe figure out how to lose that extra weight so I could have maybe gone a little longer or could
Mm-hmm.
have gone a lot longer. But I didn't know at that point. Like I worked so hard to get to 290.
I can
I worked so
imagine.
hard. And I didn't have a dietitian coach. Like these guys have coaches just for their diets and special.
Right. They're scientists. You didn't have the scientists back then, man.
Yeah, we didn't have a scientist. I didn't know
No.
how to lose 40 pounds right before the day of the fight and then put 30 of it back on the night before like they're doing now, which is pretty unhealthy. I'm hearing what they're doing with the weight sucking and stuff is
It's
really
worse than a
bad.
yo-yo diet. I mean, it's like a yo-yo diet
Yeah.
at 2 months. You lose 30, you gain back 50 within a month.
The brain is all fat, man. The brain's all
Right.
fat and water. So I mean, if you're dehydrating yourself that much and you can't get that water back in the brain, hey, you don't get nothing for nothing.
I see Remco like in some of your stuff. I'm going to be having Remco on. He seemed like another big guy too.
Oh, he's a great human being.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He'll be as honest as you can get, and he'll come out. The Dutch thing, man. These Dutch guys, they're so like matter of fact. They just say it how it is. Like I love him. He's a great guy.
I think I'm going to do one with him, but then maybe we can do one together and just reminisce, and I might even sit there in the background.
Absolutely.
I think it would be cool. That would be my
Yeah.
idea because I want to expand it. And, I started, see, here's how I get into it. I had my own gym. We knew one of my buddies when I was in real estate knew Chuck Liddell. Chuck's like, yeah, use my name. All of a sudden we had Chuck Liddell in our gym and he was the champion at the time. We were rolling. He was the first rock star in the business, the first guy that got on TV, got in the rock video, the Iceman, and it looked like it was slated for Tito, but he got beat before those doors opened, right? So it was like, who gets to the piñata first, basically, and all that opened up, correct? So we at our gym, they owned a big, powerful website, and it took off. That's like 13 years ago, this website, MMA Jack. And I was like, cool. And I'm like, where's some of the older guys? And like, I didn't know where everybody went because Facebook was just coming out. We didn't know the story. And anyways, had that for a few months. And then I'm like, I'm out of here. Some stuff didn't go perfectly. Nothing with Chuck or nothing. He's a great guy. But I was just tired of working for nothing basically for 5 months. I go, I'm gone. And so I sat there one day, somebody goes, well, you know how to film and edit and do all this video stuff? I go, yeah. He's like, can you film my dad? And I go, who's your dad? Oh, this is Pops Carvalho. I don't know if you ever met Pops Carvalho.
No, he worked with me a little bit. Javier had him work with me a little bit.
Yeah.
He was in the gym, said, hey, show Pulver some stuff. I was like, oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
I think he was the one who pushed home the rolling over the punch, like not just throwing the punch out straight, but rolling it over. Everything's supposed to be circular. You're moving circular. Like, yeah, I think I got that from him.
And he wanted to give it the overhand, right? The hard overhand. That's his old staple, right? And he was from Fremont. Yeah, so I started filming his documentary as he was closing in towards the end of his life. So I was basically covering him as he was, passing on.
Yeah.
And he was giving me as much story, and I still have to finish that project, but somehow I interviewed Javier, and then I interviewed him again, and I got come back to Javier and talk to him, and he'd heard about me, and I'd worked with some other fighters and different media stuff, and we ended up getting along really, really good. But I go, well, somebody once told Javier, I'm going to do your documentary. they couldn't finish it. Life gets in the way. Stuff happens. People start things with enthusiasm. They probably met you, and you fighters. Yeah, I'm gonna write a book with you, man. And he shows up twice, and then you're sitting there with your coffee. Okay, I knew he was full of it.
No,
and this happens, right? But I'm a follow through guy, so I'm like, you know what? I want the podcast. I want people to speak it. Not spoken of, but speaking too. And we have a bigger platform, but at one point, had I hit you back then, you would have had the bigger platform in your prime, but we didn't have social media back then, right?
We didn't, man.
Right? That was another thing.
At one point, I would Google my name and it would come up 4 million hits. Like there'd be 4 million people talking to have my name in their thing. It's on someplace on the web. It's crazy. And I kind of, what I feel like right now? I feel like the guy, like one of those cavemen, the fire's almost out on his fire he had those big, and he's like blowing that ember, trying to get that fire back going again. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like where I am right now.
Because our channel's good. People tune in. People will see this. It won't get 20 views. It'll get a lot more than that. It's taken a while to cultivate. I listen to the fans. They're not expecting this, but I did that primer video that I sent you where Hav is talking. Did you see that one where he's going down the hallway?
Yeah, I posted that. I posted it on my page. I got near 5,000 people right now. I don't know why they limit you 5,000, but I'm gonna try and do another page and try to get more pages going. I'm trying to get my Instagram going. I never really focused on that. I need to get my Instagram kind of going.
Okay. But what is your Instagram so people watching this can follow you? So that's the best we can start promoting.
Paul Varelans on Instagram. So
let's get Paul some following, guys. I mean, this guy's one of the pioneers. If you tuned in, I mean, a lot of people watching, I don't know what percentage, let's make up a number. Let's say that 70 or 50 or 40% of the people watching today, or even 60%, are just because Conor McGregor popped up and he was all over television. And he was radical and he caught their eye because he was sensational. And then they didn't know that there was a sport before. But unlike, let's say, football, you played football, I played football. When we played football, we had helmets and pads. But our fathers, or the guys before that, our grandfathers, had the little leather pilot helmets, and it doesn't, and they move slower. And then football,
what's funny?
Bigger and stronger and faster over time. Right?
There's an old NFL films where they're interviewing one of the old NFL original guys, and he's like, you know what, we played, we had a good time, but we didn't make any money doing it, but we did it. And I remember watching it as a kid, going, God, I hope I'm never that guy. And guess what? I'm that guy now.
Well, yeah, but the
it's
thing
just the way
is,
it goes.
You know what? I'm not afraid to admit my failures or things that haven't gone perfect. I'm not over here pretending to be perfect. And that's the thing, that there's beauty now at my age. I'm like, I could tell what mistakes I made and laugh at them. But when I was young, I was too insecure to put them out there. It's a normal thing. And to ask you, to ask you fighters, like, hey man, what happened there? I get in a lot of fights growing up in our era. How many guys are like, let's step outside? Remember that generation? The 80s? Let's step outside. That was how it was every weekend. Let's step outside. Now you go to a club, you don't see that anymore. They're like, no, I'll film you. I'll get you report. It's like the tough guy. I think a lot of it has to do with technology, and I'm not putting anybody down. It's just the evolution of man.
No, it is what it is. Except for Seattle. Do you know that Seattle
mutual combat?
Mutual combatant rule. Like, I thought about moving to Seattle just for once in a while, getting it out of my system, man.
Yeah. My buddy was up there in the Army. He's like, you agree to mutual combat? Let's go. Boom. The cops are like, oh, it's a licensed match,
Right. Yeah. Boy, I bet you the athletic commission really hates that.
Yeah. Like, we're not throwing any events up there. They have free ones in the street. They're just trying to give it away. But
exactly.
But Paul, I think, I can tell by talking to you, you get a lot of knowledge and a lot of insight, and who else could reflect on it, It's kind of like, oh yeah, it was the first guy on the moon. We flew up in this thing, and it was like, it had a fax machine sized computer. Now people just go up with the laser beam and they're there and they're doing cooler stuff than I was. Yeah. But it's how it is. But somebody had to have. See, I thought it took all you fighters in the beginning. It took a lot of nerve because you were stepping into the mystery, because we had our childhood. The 70s, we had Bruce Lee, we had Chuck Norris, we had Good Guys Wear Black, we had Black Belt Jones, we had all these different super aggressive movies, and you're like, that guy might know a death point. And then we had all these senseis that were like, yep, that works in real life. And had we threw them in a ring, we were like, oh, what a bunch of scarecrows. They're just a straw man. They're not real tough
Right.
guys,
Yeah.
right?
You'd be surprised who's got it in him and who doesn't. You
Right,
can't tell it but from looking. And
right.
I got to mention another one of my heroes. It's a little embarrassing, but Evil Knievel, man. That guy
Yeah.
just took these jumps, broke his bones, and got up and did it again. And I got to say, I think that's a part
Mm-hmm.
of my thing. I see the jump, I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It's the Grand Canyon. I'm gonna do it. Like
Yeah. I read his book. I mean, the guy had 256 broken bones in his life,
yeah,
and he would just do it again. But, between fighting, Evil Knievel, but see, then here's what's crazy when something gets changed. Now, like, I'm going to go jump over the shark tank. Like, oh, we just watched motocross. These guys do 8 flips in the air and go for
right.
5 times farther
Yeah.
on a motorcycle bike. That's past. But when it was a novelty, and
Yeah.
but the fighting thing still goes, and Javier's still here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's good that you're doing something like this because the young kids need to remember that this foundation was built, and it was freaking crazy, man.
It was.
And what was done was 3 fights in one night, man. Respect where
Right.
it came from. And also and I wanna be as vocal about this as possible because in the past I was not as respectful as I should have been to the Gracie family. The
Mhm.
Gracie family, without them, none of this. None of us would have got what we got.
Right.
Nobody in MMA, nobody even with even the martial art world could share as much success and revitalization of martial arts in the world without the Gracie family. What the Gracie family did was I couldn't be me right now.
Right.
I wouldn't be who I am literally right now without the Gracie family. And that's not to say that their style cannot be beaten. I'm not saying that. I mean, but it is a top tier form, and it's one of the best in the world, no doubt about it.
One
I'm
for
not
one,
saying they're
as Hav says,
yeah,
1-for-1. If you're not well rounded, and you never train in how to counter choke and answer the
right,
phone, kind of like keep the guy
right. No,
from
absolutely.
cinching in the
Put your chin down.
yeah. Yep.
But the truth of the matter is, without their production, without what they did to start all this,
Yeah.
we would not be where we are. So I just want to.
It's a beautiful, well put point. And even Javier was, he said on the podcast we did the other day, he says, you know what? He says, the Gracies knew what they were doing. They go, you want to see real fighting? We'll show you. We fight all the time in our gym. Did you know of those? Did you know about the Gracies before the UFC, or did you know what they were doing in LA?
Their names were coming up. Their names were coming up in it, and when you're a young fighter, you're like, screw those guys. We're real fighters. There's some da 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 da. That's my head was there when I was younger, and when you think you're the best, you beat anybody. Nobody's style matters. Blah blah blah. But no, I didn't understand. I didn't know. But and here's the thing too, though. Now they had a very very much so. They put the work into it. But imagine having, I don't know, what is it, 13, 14, 15 brothers that you can work out with constantly? Literally, they're doing jujitsu from morning to night. They're tag team each other. I mean, like, anybody's going to be able to make, I mean, not anybody, but I mean, you're going to get like they get with that sort of focus, intensity, faith, commitment, with their family into it. I mean, hell, that's amazing. It's amazing what they did. It's amazing how they did it. I mean, that's I don't want to leave them out of the conversation. I don't want it to all be about them, but they deserve their place.
That's very well put, and it's true. When you're young, you have your ego. Well, I don't really believe in this because you're protecting it. You get older, you get wiser, you get wisdom. And then you can reflect, say, you know what? No, that was legit. It's just how it is. But especially, the machismo, the guys trying to play the stoic tough guy, and they could have been a really nice guy, but in the cage, they were not going to wear the nice guy mask to the cage. But there's a new guy, Sam Alvey. He's always smiling when he walks in. But
right. Well, you know that shit talking makes money. They've proven that. They've proven that shit talking makes money. If I would have talked more shit, I probably would have made a lot more money, but I would have been true to myself. Now the true to yourself thing and the true, and we'll have to talk about that another time. Like
Mhm.
the
No,
whole
we will do another
controversy.
cast. We definitely will do another
Yeah,
cast. I
yeah,
want to
yeah,
know
for sure.
who do you like to watch today? Which fighters, if you do get a chance to watch, or do you? Some guys don't watch at
Without a
all.
doubt,
You know?
without a doubt, the women fighters have it on the men right now.
Yeah.
The women fights are. I'm never let down. I'm
Hmm.
never let down with the intensity, ferocity, focus, technical skills, and they come at it. There's none of this. I respect you, man. I'm gonna be real careful, man. You know, like the guys do. They fucking women. They come, and I'm throwing a challenge out right now to the guys. Either step up to the ladies or accept your second tier status.
Whoa, that's a good one. Hey, that's a good one. I think what you're reflecting on, if I were to depict, I'd say the emotion, it's pure fire, and then other
Yeah,
times, I mean, I
that's what a
have seen
fight's supposed
some,
to be. That's what
right?
a fight's supposed to be. You're supposed
Hmm.
to, I mean, there. I think there was that the last fight where that the guy was about to retire. I think he was Puerto Rican or something like that, but he was really. This was his last chance at making it, and it was pretty recent before the COVID thing. I think it was one of the last two fights they
Hmm.
had, and he never went for it. He just never went for it. He'd start to go for it, and then he'd pull back, looking for something. And
You
I mean,
didn't fire. Yeah, yeah.
if you're hungry, you're hungry. If you want it, you want it. You don't. A, a truly a true fighter isn't worried about losing.
Hmm.
A true fighter is wanting to win, finding a way to win.
Yeah.
If when you start worrying about losing, I'm not saying you're not a fighter, but I'm
But
saying
you're buying into that
you've
dialogue.
lost
You're
your
like
edge. You've lost
your
your edge.
scale is weighing over on the wrong
Yeah,
side, right? And
you're like, I mean, yeah, you've become cautious,
right.
and it doesn't. You can't make things happen in caution. Caution, you're waiting for a mistake to happen.
Yeah. You got to trust your muscle memory and you got to just go
Yeah,
for it. Like,
and don't
a great
trust them.
depiction of this was Ngannou's last fight. Did you see Ngannou's last fight?
No, 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 I didn't know.
Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight. He just
Oh,
came.
yeah,
He's just
yeah,
like, ah. He
yeah,
wasn't either
yeah,
with perfect technique. He was
right.
just like
Yeah,
beast
yeah,
mode.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, the heavyweights right now. We're talking boxing, right?
No, 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 no. He's in the UFC, so it's hard to watch
Oh,
all
okay.
of.
I'll look at it. I'll look that fight up. Oh,
You'll
Ngannou.
like
Okay,
it.
that was okay. Like,
Well,
like
I have fighter friends that don't even watch it anymore unless they're
I,
fighting or they're
I
buddy.
hardly watch it unless it's a
Let's
great
be
girls
honest.
fight. I swear to God, like I get fired up for the girls fights. I honestly have not 100% of the time I watch a women's fight. I'm satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
75% of the men's fights, and that is a generous thing for me to say. I'm satisfied with the fight. Like
Mm-hmm.
I see two fighters that are hungry, that are gonna go for it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what a fight is to me. A fight is going for it, going at it. You know what I mean? That's what we're here to see. This
But
tentative business, okay, super professional, super smart, boring as hell. Don't
mhm.
really. How are you going to convince me you really want this? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So
What about the yellow card system in Pride? Did you know about that? How like if you're not moving, they're going to take 10% off your purse every time they throw a yellow card down. That used to
I
get
love
guys
I
moving. Guys are laying and praying. They're like, yellow card, and they're like, oh, you know.
that's a great. No, I didn't know about that, and that's a great idea. And I
Mhm.
also think there should be bonuses for punches thrown, for kicks thrown. You should get whoever throws the most punches, throws kicks, gets a $10,000 bonus. Because I'd
It's
rather
actually a
see
good thought,
guys make money more than lose money because
right?
they're already not getting paid enough.
Right.
Okay, so like maybe you could go with a green card for them because you're leading, and I've let know you're leading in the punches. You're going to get a bonus.
Right.
And
Hunt
then so the guy
stats.
goes, oh wait,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like a kind of a positive reinforcement. You know what I mean? And it goes towards the fighters. So
Who
yeah,
do
no, I
you
love that idea though.
who do you keep
Like
in
you could have
touch with today from the origins? Like, which fighter buddies do you have that you guys have stayed in touch here and there throughout the years?
Gary Goodrich, I'm good friends with. Me and Brian talk here
Big
and
Daddy.
there. Yeah, Big Daddy. I'm in touch with oh god, I'm so bad with names. Whenever I talk and do something, I gotta have a list of names. Art Davies is the guy I'm in touch with. I actually talked on LinkedIn with one of the other top promoters. I won't remember his name right now, but I've stayed in touch with a bunch of the promoters and not Marowitz, because me and Marowitz have a blood feud.
Well, Davey started Combate, didn't he? Didn't he start Combate Americas, the new fight?
Yeah, the arm wrestling fighting thing.
Well, he had that XF thing, but then he started, I think he has Combate Americas, which is, I think it's mainly produced in South America. They do have it up here in the States. But, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. Yeah, that's
he was one of the original.
Have you seen those Russian fights where they fight with like obstacles? They got like kind of hardish, foamish blocks that the guys can run up on, and like it's crazy.
It's like a Navy SEAL obstacle course with fighting. I've seen 5-on-5. I have seen they have great fights. That's where we talk about that leg kick. Before I started really landing in the UFC, I was watching this. I think it was a Chechen league, the ACB, and now called ACA. And you can find some on YouTube. But this one guy was just laying everybody out with that kick. He was hitting them perfectly right behind the calf, and they're like, oh, and they were done. Like they couldn't walk anymore. So that was like, and then I see it so much more. Justin Gaethje, his last fight against Tony Ferguson. A lot of the Brazilian guys, I mean, they're just blasting that leg. And I think a lot of guys initially thought when you're young, I'm like, the high kick looks more powerful, but the low kick's more effective. What's the point?
The low kick's more effective and it is more powerful because you lose power and distance. So the shorter distance you have to travel and the rounder it can be, the more of a curvature you can put into it, you're generating power with quickness, with the arc, and with and distance, like short distance. So that's why for sure I can do the math and prove to you that the lower kick is a more powerful kick. It is super effective. The high kick, unless you're like, what's the name of that Krokop guy from
Krokop, yeah.
He
was amazing.
Unless you're him, you're gonna get your legs swept, or they're gonna counter. They're gonna go low and kick you in the leg that you're planted on for that big high kick. Those high kicks, you have to be super specialist like Krokop, like. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is you're talking about Alaska. I was judging local events in Alaska, and there was a kid who got kicked. I think I forget his punch, but I was judging, and he got rolled over backwards into a ball. Like he literally he rolled over backwards, and his feet touched his head, and it blew up on the internet for a long time. And I was like, oh my god, I was judging that fight, and I wonder if you've seen that one because it was a big.
Check it out. That's was he knocked out so badly that his body
was
just
knocked out
became
so badly,
limp
his
that
his head went back and touched his head touched his ankles.
I'm gonna screen share with you real quick. So we're gonna see. Here we got you right here. Can you see this on here? Yeah. There you are. See, this was you in your heyday.
Brian, that's Brian over my shoulder. You can barely see
right here.
Yeah, that's Brian right there, and that's my buddy Kerry Burke to the other side.
This was you in your prime. I should have led off with this, but you know what? This is
that's all good.
Yeah. No, it's funny enough for me. Like I said, I saw you in the gym, and I'm like, oh, that guy is huge. And the next thing I know, I saw you on TV. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's funny.
What's funny is that it's funny too. Like I'm so wide and tall at the same time. You don't really get my height until you're next to me. From far away, I look average.
Right.
But then when somebody comes up next to me, they're like, and that worked for me in the fights. That was a great psychological, like I didn't do it on purpose, but it worked because they'd be like, he's not 6'7", he's not 6'7". And I was 6'8" actually, but they would now he's not 80, so he's not even 6'7", and then they'd come up to me and they'd be like looking straight up, going, "Oh my god!" And,
this was the beginning. I mean, I'm trying to find another picture to share. you know, back in the day, man, that you were like, people like, oh my gosh, it's Paul Varelans. I mean, how much like celebrity, because social media and stuff didn't exist, but how much like people knew you? Like, was it the local scene?
Oh, it was okay. It was, and that was okay. Part of it was, especially locally in the Bay Area. I mean,
Mhm.
I couldn't go. I
There's the
couldn't
man.
go any. There you
Yeah.
go. I couldn't go anywhere without anybody coming up to me and showing me love. And one way or another, like people bought me food. They bought, I mean, it was the Bay Area was so generous and so wonderful to me.
Hmm.
But the downside was when it got banned, I couldn't get away
Fickle,
from it.
very, very
Yeah.
fickle, right? Very fickle.
Well, no. People were still really cool. No, they were really cool. But the problem was me.
Oh,
The same love turned into a bitter pill because I wasn't angry at them, but I couldn't get away from it. Like the way
mhm.
you heal from something that hurts you is you get away from it. You
Push it
time,
away. Push it away.
yeah. You can heal because you're not thinking about it all the time. Every time I left the house, hey, when's your next fight? What's going on? Where's your fight?
Oh yeah,
Fight.
yeah.
Right. And I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't have a next fight, and it was, and I couldn't be angry at them because they were just showing me the same love they showed me before, but it wasn't feeling the same. It felt like a reminder of what I didn't have anymore, and so I kind of became a recluse, came into the whole kind of like drug thing, and it was weird, man. It was I mean, my whole trip, dude, was very strange. Like it was constant, even the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. It's
Hmm.
just so different.
Well,
Like I can't go to a book and go, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you yeah, that was my first
you knocked him out. I think this is Calworsham, the
yeah,
Taekwondo guy.
with the
Yeah,
with an elbow. I did a
yeah,
body
yeah.
blow
Like a
to
down,
the
boom. Yeah.
yeah. That's like one of the I don't know, I've never seen anybody do a body blow knockout either. I never get credit for that, but it's okay. Um and he passed away a year ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, like lots of these guys were passing away, man. Emmanuel Yarbrough passed away. Those guys are dropping like flies.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's the thing is like you're still here and Remco's here. You guys are two of the big guys. I'm starting the big guys, working my way down. I've met
yeah.
I've met most people along the way. There's not too many I haven't met. There's a few, but not too many. You know, it's interesting because one day you're watching on TV and you're hanging out with that guy, and it's been like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd never hung out with any professional athletes or anything until I turned 40. I grabbed a camera and they're like, camera guy. And all of a sudden I was everywhere, meeting everybody.
right.
And that's all it
Right.
was. But
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
no, but I was a martial artist when I was young, and I get my fair amount of brawls growing up because I grew up on an airborne ranger base, and they all wanted to fight off the base every night, go down the bar. There's no drinking age. You started early in junior high. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it was its own ultimate thing. And I'm like, oh, just like you were thinking growing up. And
yeah.
I'm
You
kind
either
of
got a
glad that I
fighter.
didn't. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, though. I am. I'm not going to be,
Yeah,
because some of my friends, every one of my friends, like, you guys sacrifice, you take injuries, you take a beating, and when you're young, it's your pride, it's your drive. Like, I was in the Navy, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. I
yeah,
get my fitness to
yeah,
that level. I didn't pursue it because I get in a motorcycle wreck. But since that motorcycle wreck kept me from doing it, I have friends that did, and they are like, all their backs are jacked up, they can't get out
oh
of
yeah.
bed.
No,
It's like,
I hurt,
right,
bro.
right.
I paid the price. Yep, we
So
paid the price.
I
Mhm.
mean, you do that moment of glory to go down in the books of history, but there is a price for everything, for sure.
There's a price to pay. Absolutely. I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm blind in this eye.
mhm,
Like I got detached retina, and I've had back surgery, and I've
right?
got yeah. No, I'm a friggin' mess. But I know I paid the price, but then I had the trip of a lifetime, and it's not over yet. I still have a lot to share,
You're not
and
done. You're not done. People need to
so
hear it
yeah,
from people like you. There's other
yeah,
guys that jumped in while Paul Varelans was finding his way back to the internet and moving from Alaska to Atlanta. And it's kind of like you said, when it was over and you were pushed out of it, it's the same thing that happens when I was in the military. You get out of the military, you feel like it pushed you away, like you were just let go and you don't matter. Like,
yeah,
give your ID card back. You're not allowed on the base. These are not your friends anymore. You're not going to work with them. They're
all
your
right,
friends, Maybe you'll
Right.
see him out in town, but you probably won't. And it's like that, like you're out of the octagon. So
Yeah.
of course, and then everyone's like, "Would you, hey champ?" And you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
do I have to answer this again?" And it's making you
Yeah.
feel worse and worse. I
It
can
was the
imagine.
same questions
Compounding,
over and over and
right?
over, and I started staying in and not going out, and just because, yeah, and it was just, and it was, it's weird because I'm not so angry that I turn on them and go, oh, they made me feel this way. It's the same thing. It was the same love they were giving me, and it felt good. Now it's stung. I mean, their intentions are good. It's like
Right.
I can't hold it against the people who were just doing what they
Yeah.
do. And what you find out though, the reality is this is the and this is not a bitter thing. This is just the truth. When you do something that excites people, that they watch, that
Mm-hmm.
it excites them, they're getting a little fix off you with that interaction. Like they want to hear something, it's excitement, it pulls them out of the doldrums of their day, and it's cool. It's a cool thing. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't make enough money while you're doing it, where you can kind of afford your privacy, it is not, they're taking more than they're giving ultimately, because not the individual, but the next one and the next one and the next one and the next
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm-hmm.
and the next one. And then, you find yourself at the store trying to buy your food and your ice cream's melting. And the guy who leaves, he doesn't see the guy behind him. He's just excited he got his 5 minutes, and he goes off. And then there's the next guy, and your ice cream's melting. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh. And you can see the guy queuing up behind him.
Hey
And
man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
So it's this really kind of weird, like, fuck. Welcome to what was
It's a
heaven is
give.
now.
It's a give and take. If they say you're the popular kid, all of a sudden all these
Yeah,
kids want to hang out with you. Hey Fonzie, can we hang out with you in
yeah.
your leather jacket?
Are
We're the
you gonna jump?
T-Birds.
Are you gonna jump the shark again? Yeah, wow, yeah, that's funny.
Oh yeah,
That's
you
funny.
basically you're the evil Knievel of the cage. You're one of them.
Right,
So
right.
it's
And
a great
it's
analogy.
and the crazy thing about it, dude, is literally it's the same exact experience, but what's going on in your head's different.
Right.
And I got to tell you, when you see all these kind of weird people write about, hell like experience, what it would be like to be in hell. Hell's simple things. Hell is just a little switch in a reality that at one point it was so full of joy, but now it's just this burden. And it's the same exact experience. And that to me is how the devil would do his work. Is like he'd be like, oh yeah, you enjoyed that? Now taste it this way. And so it's,
Have you gone
and you
back
know
to
what?
the UFC Hall of Fame reunions? I know they honored you guys or had you up
Yeah,
for a few
yeah.
things.
We that one card you just showed, the one goldish card, that
Mm-hmm.
was from UFC 267 or 68, something like, I'm not sure which one, but it was in Vegas, and they had a lot of us old timers signing autographs and doing appearances. And one of my pictures, there's a picture on stage with a whole bunch of guys, and that was from that UFC. Don Fry was there, and Oleg was there, and I mean, I can't even. There was just so many guys. Yeah, it was a really good time, and hopefully they'll do some more of that. I've gone to. They've given me some tickets when they've been here in Atlanta. I've been to a couple shows in Atlanta. Um, yeah, it's I'm like I said, I'm trying to find a way to capitalize on my history, because we didn't
This
make
is
any
this
money.
is a
So
start. It's a start,
yeah, it's a
and
start,
and it's
exactly.
and it's a start, and it's so. What do you have that the guy in the UFC doesn't have now? You have the reflection and the experience, just like me. I'm a veteran, talking to a guy who's in boot camp, talking to a
Yes,
guy who's going through his third year in. He's not even been that many years, and he hasn't even
right.
left the country. So it's different, right? You're a veteran,
It
and
is. Yeah,
you're seasoned, and people get to hear from this perspective. And I'm trying to refresh it, because truth is, if I'm on a regular show and they're only going the top 5 or 6 hot guys that are popular right now today because of trending analytics, Instagram, blah
yeah,
blah blah blah. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna start with the guys that started the whole damn thing off, and I'm gonna have Hav go through and do some more like that video, the posters, and you
yeah,
know,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and then we'll get some other guys. We'll have you guys talk. I mean, I want to help you out there for sure, man.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
you get
All right.
somebody that appreciates what you do.
I
and
appreciate it. Yeah.
good,
Thank
good
you, Lou.
friends that knows with what you know. Thank you for coming on, man. It was great.
Yeah.